I never really have a set plan on what my next video will be about. While I might have a couple ideas here and there, sometimes it could be as simple as a piece of media catching my eye. And to say that I found something that did catch my eye would be a massive understatement. As when I saw this, mama, it was over. Even without watching it first, I knew I had to talk about it immediately. With a poster like that? Come on now. It's different, it's sexy, it had contrast with one clothed man versus 5 naked ones. It looked intriguing. I was fully enamored by the poster alone, and after watching the movie itself twice, definitely have some thoughts to share. Before I get ahead of myself though, some quick background. City Without Baseball is a 2008 Hong Kong drama film written by Scud and directed by Lawrence Amon. And for now, I'll be keeping it at that. If this video's title is any indication, I definitely do have more to share, but this time I think it makes more sense to bring some of that background up as I cover the movie. Of course, if you don't want to be spoiled, you can actually watch the full movie for free on Tubi TV. Link will be in the description below. So yeah, with that said, we can go ahead and get started. City Without Baseball, set in 2004, follows a few key characters, with our main protagonist being Ron, a young man with quite a lot on his plate. He's a college student taking night classes, an aspiring musician, and part of Hong Kong's baseball team. Though he's not especially well liked by his teammates, with only a few treating him with respect. One of those few is Chung, the team's star pitcher. While he works as a car mechanic, baseball is his main dream. He cares about it more than anything and would consider his life unsatisfying without it. Fellow teammate and close friend Jason shares that passion, but doesn't share Chung's friendliness to Ron. Quite the contrary, Jason is kind of a bitch to Ron and gives this weird, jealous vibe whenever Chung and Ron are together. Captaining this baseball team is Jose, who balances that responsibility with his corporate job. Overall, a nice guy to pretty much everyone. Rounding out the cast is John Tai, a man who came from Taiwan to coach the team and hopefully whip them into shape by the time the Asia Baseball Cup rolls around. And while the Asia Baseball Cup is our destination of sorts, I wouldn't say it's the main focus. Neither is baseball itself for that matter. As you can guess, City Without Baseball is really about the players themselves and how they navigate relationships in their lives. What's interesting about this movie though is how self-contained some of the relationships are. One example of this is with John, who meets a waitress named Ping, and they start a relationship. They have a couple cute scenes together in the first half before Ping disappears from the plot, but beyond that, there isn't really much else to say. You could probably take that whole subplot out of the movie and it wouldn't really change much, other than John having less screen time, of course. Another example of this is Chung's encounter with a girl that wants to end her life. After narrowly missing her while driving, he picks up the phone she dropped and is able to connect with her again. This subplot reaches its climax when the girl asks him to push her off a building, but Chung refuses and kisses her instead, vowing to find a reason for her to live. Now listen, this kind of subject matter is no joke, right? Typically, it should be handled carefully and with a degree of sensitivity in mind. I'm sure the creative minds behind this movie wanted it to come across as such, but I'm sorry, this was the silliest thing I've seen in a good while. I just couldn't take this subplot seriously. I couldn't. We don't even know the girl's name, for crying out loud. And when Chung brings up the possibility that she could land on and kill a fat lady instead of herself, he just looks at him with the most unamused expression, and I'm sorry, I have to laugh. I have to laugh because this is so unserious. And the unprompted kiss afterwards was really the cherry on top for this fuck-ass subplot. So yeah, wasn't a big fan. And again, if you were to take this whole subplot out of the movie, not much would change. So if we were to take those two subplots out of the equation, what would that leave us with? Well, the main plot, of course, which serves as an exploration into Ron's life and his relationships. And we're off to a not so great start when Ron catches his girlfriend getting handsy with another man. To add insult to injury, Ron's new girlfriend, Moisey, becomes infatuated with Chung, and eventually, Ron catches her gifting Chung a shirt shortly after Ron just left. It's not the most damning thing in the world, but poor Ron could already see the signs from before, with Moisey encouraging Chung to strip at a team get-together, or the two getting a bit too close for comfort while playing pool. As if that wasn't enough, Ron also has his own issues with the team, with Jason spearheading that antagonism. This comes to a head when Jason, quote, accidentally, unquote, hits Ron with a baseball, causing the two and Jason's friend to almost throw down in the showers. And Ron is the only one to get in trouble for this, which is interesting, to say the least. My boy Ron just can't catch a break, my goodness. To be fair though, not all is bad. His roommate Kevin is chill, Jose helps to smooth things over with the team while imparting some wisdom onto Ron, and he has a loving mom and sister. And just to pause on the mom and sister for a moment, these two are hilarious. The mom gives auntie vibes, and the sister, well, she's kind of a girl failure. Oh my god, there's a scene where the sister stares at this white man's booty while he installs cable onto their TV, and it just sent me so fiercely. Both of them killed every scene they got and deserve all the flowers. If we were to rewind a bit though, Moisey does actually kickstart a process of self-discovery for Ron. While intimate, she asks Ron if she and Kevin ever had sex, and even normalizes the idea of sleeping with the same gender. And Ron gradually takes the idea to heart, having a full-on conversation about sexuality with Kevin. They're also both naked, but that's neither here nor there. Anyways, we reach the Asia Baseball Cup. All the training and hard work our boys went through will now be tested in this Tournament of Nations. We see them face off against Pakistan, Iran, Thailand. Apparently Thailand was a critical match for them, and they won it. They won it, and are more than happy to celebrate. And I guess Ron was riding that high because he went ahead and kissed Chung on the cheek before mentioning that he has something to tell him tonight. Very, very bold move from Ron, especially with Jason and what's-his-face staring daggers at them. So, later that night, we kind of reached a climax to Ron's journey with his sexuality by confessing to Chung that he likes him. Damn. Chung sure is popular. Ron's girlfriend, the girl with an Australian accent that I didn't even mention till now, all of whom being no match for the girl that wants to off herself. In Chung's eyes, she's the one. So, as you can expect, Chung doesn't take this confession well, and even goes as far to call Ron a pervert. He later walks it back after Ron points out how friendly Chung and Jason are with each other, but I mean, what more is there to say? Chung very clearly rejects him. Definitely heartbreaking to see Ron like this, even more so when he says sorry to Chung. And I'm just like, no, baby, don't apologize for speaking your truth. The apology, though, does get Chung to chill the fuck out, and he allows Ron to lean on him as the two sit together, which was a sweet moment. After this, we get a win against Indonesia and arrive at our final match, Sri Lanka. If Hong Kong wins this, they're guaranteed a runner-up slot, possibly even the winner. And more exciting is the ability to move up and compete in the A-League, which consists of Japan, Korea, China, and Taipei. Would honestly be a dream come true for the team, which makes their loss against Sri Lanka all the more devastating. Jose tries his best to comfort the team, but it's unfortunately no match for the gloomy feeling of defeat. And to make matters even more heartbreaking, we also find out that Kevin, Ron's roommate and one of the few people that genuinely seemed to understand him, has overdosed and is no longer with us. He left a note for Ron before passing away, telling him to live his life to the fullest before meeting with Kevin again. Ron pins the note to his wall, and then we transition to Chung, sitting alone outside, quietly mouthing the lyrics to his song being played. After rejecting a call from Moisey, he sends the girl he saved earlier a text saying that they should celebrate, and the camera pans to the sky, fireworks lighting up the evening. In an afterword, we find out 2 years later, in 2006, that the team was successful in becoming runner-up, allowing them the chance to compete with Tier 1 teams. In the end, that dream was finally achieved. I didn't know what to think about City Without Baseball the first time I watched it. In fact, I was so dumbfounded by the movie that I started to read reviews for it on IMDb, just to get a sense of direction for what I just watched. And listen, I'm not trying to say that the movie is complicated to follow or anything like that. The main narrative and its subplots are fairly straightforward. I just didn't know how to feel about it. I really didn't. But if I had to say something though, I would remark that the ending was unsatisfying. I I don't know, man. It just felt like the movie didn't have any real payoff or resolution, which is a shame. I know I clowned on the two subplots earlier, but the main story with Ron and the connections he had with the rest of the cast was compelling to watch and easily made up for the weaker subplots. I was really hoping for something more and thought we'd get a more satisfying conclusion to his arc. In the end, though, it didn't happen. I was also hoping that there would be more of a gay focus in this movie, considering how homoerotic the poster was, but I'm willing to be more forgiving in that regard and just chalk it up to my own preconceived expectations than anything else. Ultimately, this movie left me with a bunch of conflicted thoughts in my head. Did I love it? Did I hate it? I just didn't know. And so, like I mentioned before, I turned to IMDb to see how other people felt about it. And you know what? I'm glad I did, because some of these reviews are quite good and helped me digest my own experiences with the movie better. Some of my favorites I'll insert here. It was also here where I came to a very, very late realization. The star behind City Without Baseball is Hong Kong's national baseball team. And no, I'm not talking about actors playing the role of baseball players. I'm talking about the actual, real baseball players playing themselves on screen with their actual names being used. consider myself gagged when I finally put the pieces together. And what's especially comical about this is the movie literally spelling it out for me within the first 7 minutes. And I still didn't believe it. I didn't believe it. I thought this was an in universe thing with the plot, and the baseball players were simply actors. Turns out, I was dead wrong. Holy shit. And I want to dig into this some more because the background surrounding this movie is so fascinating. In an interview with the now defunct website Hong Kong Cinemagic, Scud and Lawrence revealed that the Hong Kong Baseball Association reached out to Scud, asking if he could create a documentary about baseball in Hong Kong. Lawrence was a friend of Scud, and the two ended up working together. And while they were doing the research and meeting the players, they started to realize that said players were quite charismatic and had interesting stories to tell from their own lives. Ultimately, Scud and Lawrence decided to make a movie instead, with Scud taking the stories from the baseball team and melding it into a script. With that context, I now feel extra bad for Ron cause if he's acting out his actual experiences, then he must have gone through it. Not everything from the script was true to life though. That whole subplot with the girl that wanted to off herself, yeah, that didn't come from the baseball team. That was all Scud's idea. Kind of campy how the worst subplot of the movie was also the most fictional, but I digress. Toward the end of the interview, Scud is asked about the film's open ending, and he replies with this: "Yeah, there is not a distinct ending. Like life, there is no solution to all of our problems. The story goes on. We don't know how it ends. We can imagine many different possibilities for all the characters." It's not every day I come across a movie or show where you have real people playing themselves in a fictionalized narrative based on their lives. I'm sure it's not that uncommon, but I guess it was rare enough for me to be so gagged by it, that's for sure. More than anything though, that along with Scud's comment about the ending, changed everything. It literally recontextualized the entire movie for me, and when I watched it the second time with that in mind, I got it. I got the vision. I understood what they were going for. At least I think I do. City Without Baseball, though a fictional movie based on true stories, was still written with the idea of reality. And as we all know, reality doesn't operate with any story in mind. Events in one's life don't have to connect with one another in any meaningful way. It can be fragmented, it can be messy, and most tellingly, it can be unsatisfying. Life isn't always going to give us what we want, even if we do our absolute best to achieve that desired payoff. Instead of accomplishing things with a bang, everything could just as easily fizzle out into a whimper. No fanfare, no blaze of glory, none of that. And it can be tough. It can be a hard pill to swallow. But again, that's life. It has its ups and downs, completely unburdened by any semblance of what we call a fulfilling story. Sometimes we just have to take things for what they are and keep it moving, always hopeful for a better future, one with meaning, purpose, love, all that stuff. So yeah, I think that's my pseudo-intellectual read on the movie. I could be reading way too deep into this, but yeah. In a nutshell, movie inspired by real life not always satisfying, therefore, movie designed to have unsatisfying end. And to be clear, I'm not trying to excuse away any criticisms by layering in this realness argument. I still believe the subplots didn't add too much to the movie, and I wish we had a more fulfilling conclusion. Having said that, I do find myself having this newfound appreciation for the movie. It's honestly unlike anything I've ever seen before, and that in of itself makes me happy that I discovered it. This movie is so interesting to me, and I haven't even covered everything about it. Sometimes we get screens presenting philosophical quotes, sometimes the music itself is credited, with the singer's date of birth and death being shown. The baseball matches we saw was real footage from the 2004 Asia Baseball Cup. The nudity? Oh wow, I'm just now mentioning the nudity cause yeah, the movie has full frontal nudity and is sort of famous for it. Seems to have caused its fair share of controversy back in the day. Ironically enough, I don't really have much to say about it. I thought it worked, it never felt out of place, and we got to see some hot men. Overall, a win-win for me. Having said that, I'm now reminded of the poster and, looking at it again, I'm able to identify the following men. Ron is all the way to the left, Chung is center right with Jason next to him, Jose is center right with his uniform on, and then we have these two. No shade, but I don't know their names. I remember Jason's friend on the far right, and the one guy next to Ron that tried to keep the peace between Ron and Jason. But again, I don't remember ever hearing their names. They're not important to the overall narrative, and I'm aware they're listed among the other names in the credits, but yeah, I just wanted to point that out. There's one more thing I want to talk about before calling it a wrap, and that is, well, the actual title, City Without Baseball. In Hong Kong, baseball isn't a popular sport. Quite the contrary, it almost seems invisible. When the sport is mentioned to those outside the group, they express surprise that Hong Kong even has a baseball team. Even beyond Hong Kong, it's still not the most popular sport, if the empty seats in the Asia Baseball Cup are any indication. Now, I can't speak on this feeling cause I'm not in their shoes, but I can only imagine it feeling very isolating to be part of a sport that has so little attention or fan support. At one point, you gotta wonder, why even bother? But that's the thing though. Ron, Chung, Jason, Jose, they're not playing baseball for fame or attention. Of course that would be nice, but at the end of the day, all the blood, sweat, and tears spent playing baseball is because they love it. They love the sport and want to be better at it. Even in the face of an empty stadium, they'll still give it their all. And I find that very beautiful. If nothing else, I hope Hong Kong's baseball team got some love and positive attention from the movie. They were brave enough to play themselves while naked on the big screen, and that, in of itself, is incredibly based. City Without Baseball is Scud's debut film. Since then, he's created 9 other movies, with his most recent releasing just last year. All of them have pretty gay-looking covers as well, so you best believe I'll be checking them out. Definitely interested in seeing more of Scud's filmmaking, and how it evolves over time. For now though, I'll leave it here. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.